What behavior details tell you that person is emotionally traumatized? Inability to make decisions. General indecisiveness, especially when presented with conflicting options. Thinking everything is their fault / responsibility. If someone is hurting another person, they might think it's their responsibility to stop it, and their fault if it isn't stopped. Or blaming themselves for things they can't control, like thinking a disease is a character fault and that if they were stronger they wouldn't have this problem. It depends, but usually if someone feels like they need to hide their personality from you when you meet them. I don't know if this is just me, but I've had 3 different instances of people I was barely starting friendships with, like first time hanging out, telling me about their childhood sexual abuse. Very good friends with very few people. When you develop trust issues, you don't open up for just anyone. As an emotionally traumatized person that has went through countless therapy sessions, I often get attached to people very quickly, ignore a lot of red flags, and try to fix people. Other than that, I would say mechanisms such as always asking, "Are we okay? Are you going to leave me?" and constantly replaying and vocalizing what-if scenarios. Good question. When they flinch hard when you only raised your hands and come to realize they were abused in another relationship. Always volunteering your time or services to help people even when you know they wouldn't do the same for you. Not expressing their needs and being willing to do whatever someone wants even if it makes them severely uncomfortable. Being completely non-confrontational and never standing up for themselves. People who never fight back and have way too much self-control had to learn that coping mechanism somewhere. An exceptional level of independence, especially at a young age. That person has learned no one will ever be there to help them, so they must do it themselves. One example would be someone in fear or terror when a man raises his voice. Not yelling but raising his voice. The person who had suffered emotional trauma started shaking and then started to cry. This would not be the reaction of someone who wasn't emotionally traumatized. If the man was screaming and yelling, pounding his fists on the table and acting in an aggressive manner, that would be a different story. Acting old for their age, constant eye contact when someone is talking, always on the phone, not willing to do simple tasks, not trusting someone with your stuff, keeping your emotions restricted, getting nervous when someone raises their voice, always saying sorry for things that aren't your fault, and always needing validation. I know I may have gone off the rails a few times in this, but all of them are true. People pleasing and being unable to say no. Plus apologizing for everything even when it wasn't even their fault. Plus the constant acceptance and rationalizing of abuse. If they know how to be real quiet in everything they do, putting the best ninja to shame, it's a good indicator that growing up they tried to do everything to not be noticed by their parents / guardians and avoid abuse. When they can't take ownership of their mistakes and try to put other people down to deflect from it. Flinching at unexpected physical contact, even if it's something like a cat brushing against them, or a tap on the shoulder. Violence for no reason. From my own experience, I am violent for no reason and I'm emotionally traumatized. As I've been told but don't fully believe. Masking emotions to the point of being unable to express them properly. An inability to be vulnerable. Being unable to ask for help and carrying the burden of everything or more than a fair share of responsibilities. A person who talks a lot usually but then stops talking more and more until he doesn't talk at all. Only about sad things. The symptom that stuck out like a sore thumb and led me to find out I had PTSD was exaggerated startle response. My whole life I get very startled very easily and I get very upset when it happens. Also loud noises startle me and send me into fight or flight. Apologizing dozen times a day, I do it. Can't seem to get rid of it, and I've been through things. Making everything a joke and laughing over serious things or saying that something serious they said was a lie. Telling self-deprecating jokes. Getting angry over small things that don't even matter. Well, that's me anyway, haha. If they didn't exhibit these traits naturally before, then, apologizing often, being overstimulated or irritable easily, intense confusion or cognitive dissonance, taking longer to respond, taking time to consider someone's intent, memory issues, repeating themselves or forgetting things you've said, exhaustion, dizziness, chest pains and agreeableness. When there has to be a right and a wrong person or a victim in every single solitary situation. If they hate being alone. If they need constant reassurance. When someone is friends with me. Honestly, I'm so messed up, I'm shocked anyone talks to me. Like my humor stopped at 2020 and I still make jokes that were funny back then and I'll laugh at them like I'm the funniest person in the world. Either overly obsessive with something kinda weird, or just apologizing way too much over any little thing at all. They will make a full court shot while missing an arm before missing a chance to put themselves down. Always needing to be in a relationship with someone, and being paranoid of being cheated on when with said someone regardless of how long they have been together. If one simple thing you do seems to trigger them and make them burst into tears. It's called getting emotionally triggered essentially. Accepting being mistreated because they either feel like they deserve it / can't find better, or because they just think that's how relationships, platonic or romantic or familial, are supposed to work. I feel like intentionally leaving things out in fear of me getting mad at them is a sign of a past toxic relationship. Feeling responsible for things they could never realistically hope to control or fix, and beating themselves up about it. Hearing criticism in everything. Seeing ghosts in people and situations because pattern recognition is a bitch. Erratic sleep cycle. Jumpy, quickly defensive, over-explaining, puts up a wall real fast, and sometimes you kind of just feel it. Apologizing for things out of their control, outbursts of anger. Oftentimes people who have been emotionally abused will belittle themselves in the form of a joke. Even though society doesn't ever admit it, the addiction to hard drugs is an escape mechanism in my eyes. The more trauma a person has, the more they wish to escape that trauma, and drugs are an easy way out. Unfortunately, it makes things worse because people do very stupid things while on hard drugs. Not being able to make decisions by themselves. Keep on apologizing. They think low of themselves. Wanting to help everybody around them and reminding everybody constantly how they're always there for others. Source: me grinning face with smiling eyes. A person who is unstable and having hard time understanding things. They also may lash out sometimes. Not emotionally traumatized, but you can tell that someone is an inherent liar if you find them constantly mistrusting others and assuming that they are lying. Basically, a liar will assume others are liars as well, and will show increased signs of mistrust. Being overly clingy, being extremely sensitive especially to negative emotions from other people, being overly shy or cautious to try new things, overly apologetic, uncomfortable in crowds to the point they will just cancel plans to avoid those situations, always feeling down or stressed out, irrational reactions to minor things.